Welcome back to the Vault of All Things EC. Tommy Burns here. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to talk about the thing that got me into EC Comics. The first big discovery happened for me in 1979 with this book, which was published in 1971 by Nostalgia Press. Horror comics of the 1950s, also known as the EC Horror Library, also known as the Book of All Books, also affectionately called by many simply The Big Book. This is the actual copy that I discovered in 1979. As you can see, it's had a lot of wear and a lot of love. This very book went on every family vacation and road trip. My brother and I would sit in the back seat of the station wagon with this laid across our laps. We read it everywhere and we never left home without it. Now, I've since upgraded to some nicer copies, and I keep this one as a sentimental favorite. This copy I got many years after I had worn out the first copy. It is signed by Al Feldstein on the cover using his famous box-style signature. But let's take a look at the contents. So the jackets are prone to self-destructing. They're very hard to find in nice condition for some reason. They always get shredded. The actual book has this nice gold EC logo and the title on the side printed in gold here. And this was the first time there were any oversized color reprints of EC Comics made available. And this was the first time, incidentally, that they were printed on really nice quality white paper. And even Marie Severin said, although these followed her original 50s colors guides, that she wished she had been able to recolor it because she always knew what these colors would look like on pulpy, tanning newsprint, but that these looked kind of day glow, and a lot of readers agreed that the colors appeared kind of bright. But for folks like me, when I was 10 years old, this was just an absolute revelation. I never knew comic books could be this good, and I never knew there was material like this out there with this kind of art and storytelling. So this really did start me on a path of EC addiction that never really waned, and it's clearly never ended. This book featured some amazing introductions from first generation EC fans Bob Stewart and Larry Stark, who was EC's #1 fan, so named by Bill Gaines. And this particular copy I got signed to me by Larry Stark, who's kind of my hero. He's the EC fan that all the other EC fans have always known and loved and kind of looked up to. This book also featured 5 original Ghoul Lunatic pictures by Joe Orlando, original EC artist Joe Orlando. And here's one of publisher Woody Gelman of Nostalgia Press with the Ghoul Lunatics. Nice piece here, and don't miss the fact that they're standing on a corpse with an axe in its head. Very EC there. The contents page had more original Ghoul Lunatics, and then at the back of the book was one more, this 5th depiction of the Ghoul Lunatics. And what they're doing here is introducing a story that was previously unpublished. So here's Angelo Torres's Eye for an Eye, and this was banned in the 50s. It was supposed to appear in the final issue of Incredible Science Fiction, and the Comics Code Authority, who ruined everything, wouldn't allow it because it had mutants in it. So it was finally published in this book. And Ange says that Bill Gaines told him, I promise you, someday I'll get that story published, and it did appear in the Book of All Books, the Big Book. So I've got a couple other copies here that are pretty interesting. This is actually a file copy of publisher Woody Gelman's, and it's the only copy I've seen that has none of the gold printing on the spine or the cover. And it's also got some little notes and things throughout. And I also have a copy that was one of Bill Gaines' own copies. So you could say that this is a Gaines file copy of the Big Book. The pages are absolutely white. The book has probably never been read. I do admit that I've leafed through it, but it's in pristine condition. Now, Bill had multiple copies of this book. I'm sure he had a pile of them, but a fellow EC collector I was lucky enough to get this from, and it's really nice to have my favorite book of all time from Bill Gaines. And let's look at a couple foreign editions. So this is the German edition. It came out in 1973. Sorry, this is the French edition. Came out in 1974. Here's the German edition from 1973. They have the exact same contents. Interestingly, they are in a different order than the contents of the US edition, and they also mix color and black and white. The other thing about these foreign editions from France and Germany is that they are abbreviated. There's only 15 stories compared to the 23 stories in the US edition. I also have some uncut pages from the big book. I've got several uncut sheets of pages. They're massively huge. I'm going to figure out a way to display them. My wife loves the idea of finding room on the walls for these. But uncut pages from the big book. And last but certainly not least, follow me. Let's take a walk over here. And I have an original piece by Angelo Torres. He reimagined the splash page from Eye for an Eye. And I was so happy to get this. And I'll tell you all that when an original EC artist says that they would like to do the splash panel with a giant snake drawn in, menacing the couple because he always wanted to put a snake in there, you don't say no. You let Angelo Torres do whatever he wants to do. So hope you've enjoyed my big book obsession as much as I have enjoyed my big book obsession through the years. We'll see you all later, and thanks for watching. Hoo-ha!